I just won gold place in this month's Chuy Racing Backyard Races. Yes, box stock category. Go. Against stellar competition, I prevailed and won gold place. Yes, check out this trophy right here, the number 1, fabricated with metal. Very, very cool. And the trophy mounted on this wood block. Very, very cool. So, my prize for gold, I picked the same car that I won with. Yes, because it's a really good car. So a lot of people know about this one. This is the Manta Ray Mark II, and it's the City Circuit Special. I did a little video on it not long ago, and yeah, it's a very formidable car. Why? Because of these maroon low friction tires. Very, very cool. Plus the fact that it's an MA chassis car. So this MA chassis car is pretty darn fast on 3-lane tracks. Now, the thing about this particular car was that if you rev up the batteries too high, you might corkscrew. That's just how it goes. I don't know why. It'll course out like it did at Hobbytown last month for me, but it can also corkscrew, and then you'll end up in a situation where like you might not cross the finish line, and so other cars that are behind you will then beat you, and yeah, that's just the way the ball bounces. But what I ended up doing was I said to myself, am I going to keep revving up the battery power and then just corkscrewing or coursing out when all I need to do is just lower the battery power and ensure that I stay on the track? So that's what I did. And my battery power was like, initially it was like 1.5 something, and then I lowered it down to about 1.4 volts, and this stayed on this track. It's a very, very cool technical track. You can see it right here. And it's a track within a track. That's how I can describe it. And there's a spirally loop thing going on too. Very, very cool. So yeah, my other choices were 2 animal racers, but I chose this one just because I felt that this was like the best bang for the buck in terms of like competitiveness. So yeah, very, very cool. So is there anything special about this particular car versus how you would normally build it? No, that's the funny thing. Like, I had less stickers on here. That's one thing that you can consider. But yeah, otherwise, like, I decided to put the spoiler on to add some weight. I was going to take it off because I kept corkscrewing, and I thought to myself, maybe I've got too much weight in the rear. And I said to myself, no, I've got to just lower the battery voltage. I just have to kind of trust my gut and just lower the battery voltage so that I could just stay on the track and be competitive that way. So the goal was just to win, not to win, right? So if you go for broke and you always want to like be several laps ahead of other cars, then you might corkscrew, you might course out, and that's bad. So yeah, if you've got a winning car, just lower the battery voltage enough so that it's competitive, so that you can continue racing for another day. That was the goal right there for this one. Yeah, very, very cool. So my other possibility was this. So this is my Spider-Man 2099 mock frame, and yeah, it's just getting long in the tooth. It's not as competitive as it once was. It's still very fast though, because of this light cowl right here, but it just wasn't as fast as my City Circuit Special right here. Yeah. There were other cars that I considered also. There were these 2 AR chassis cars, and these are blindingly fast also, but this had a tendency to corkscrew, like at the very end. It just, on a 90-degree turn, it just corkscrewed and basically landed on the flat of its back. And this one, the polycarbonate shell, just like you see right here, yeah, that screw is supposed to be securing this polycarbonate body on the chassis, and yeah, it just plopped off. So yeah, it's just I just have to find another way of securing it down on here. This, yeah. So AR chassis for this particular track, not as good for me anyway. So yeah. Now on other news, there were also Toon Class and BMAX races. So here we have the 2 entries that I had for Toon Class, and I will say that this was pretty darn fast, but it wasn't as fast as those other cars out there. It needed just a little bit more firepower, and then it would have been like in that range where I could have been super competitive against everybody. So this didn't work out very well. This one also didn't work out very well either. It was heavy as a tank in the beginning, and it kept on lightening the load, so to speak. And finally, I suppose I lightened the load a little bit too much, because then it just flipped right off of the track at the very end. So no joy for this one, unfortunately. This one did get into like semifinals and stuff, but it just wasn't as fast as the super elite ones in the race. That's a shame. Now this one here, this is my BMAX entry. I've got a Hyper Dash motor in here, and this was faring very well against other cars. It's just that this coursed out at inopportune times. Like, that's just the way it is. So yeah, I got into semifinals and it was plenty fast enough. And the fact that it was a CFM chassis car, yeah, very, very cool. With a Hyper Dash motor too. Like, other people were racing Power Dash and Sprint Dash and all kinds of things like that, and this was Hyper Dash and it was doing very well. So yeah, hats off to CFM, to this like ancient, it's like an ancient chassis now, but it's still very competitive, especially on 3-lane tracks. So if you can get one of these Brocken Gigantes in a CFM format, and you can convert this to not Toon Class, but BMAX or above, you've got a heck of a car. Really, really fast. And it's not that it's like the fastest top speed, it's just around turns, CFM is really good. On jumps, it's really good. There are some very competitive racers out there. You know that this is a very competitive car. You've raced against it before. And with the right things on it, the right brakes or lack of brakes, the right weights or lack of weights, the right everything. Like, when I first was dealing with this, I took it out of my box and this was like loose on this side. And this was like starting to come loose. So I had to like take apart my whole front end just to tighten up all of these parts and then attach it back on there. And I was just hoping that it would have the same functionality that it did prior to, like, a long time ago when I was racing this competitively. And yes, it did. It's just a shame that it happened to course out. So yeah, and here's the funky thing about this, the funny funky thing. It's not even straight up and down. Like, this should be like forward, but I decided to make it a little backward like this. So yeah, take as you will. You can freeze frame it. You can take a look and maybe even copy it if you'd like. But yeah, this is just my own weird design. So, so yeah, your mileage may vary. So yeah, very, very cool. But yeah, I had a lot of fun at the backyard races, and yeah, thank you, Chuy Racing. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Chuy, and thank you, Eileen, for inviting me to your place and racing against all of the elites. All of the racers that were there, very, very competitive racers. Every year, the group of racers that come to the local races, they're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. You guys are, like, from what I've seen, I've raced against many, you guys are very, very high up there. So yeah, be very proud of yourselves for being able to, like, build these cars and make them as fast as you can in a very short amount of time. Like, that's really, really cool. So I'm very, very glad that a lot of people are getting into this hobby and helping to kind of like promote it and make it the hobby that it is and should be, right? So the more we race against each other, the better we're going to be. That's just how it is. So yeah, if you have your own like local races and you only invite your own people, then you know you're only going to be as good as your group. And the fact that this race and others, like, bringing together all of these different groups together to race is really, really cool. And yeah, that just makes everybody better. Over time, we all get better, and we look at each other's designs, we look at we talk to each other about various aspects of racing, and that just helps improve all of us in terms of building cars, learning how to manage jumps, learning about braking principles, of which, like, even I'm not an expert with braking principles, and I think that's why I keep like flying off the track a lot. So for me, it's like, Well, I've got all of these different cars, and I'm just going to find the ones that work best on a track, and then I'll try to tweak from there. Whereas some people, they can just bring like 3 cars, and they could just like figure out using braking and other types of things and mass dampers how to secure their cars onto the track without having to lug like 20 cars at a time. That's a skill that is very, very awesome to have. I would rather just race something that I feel like is almost like it conforms to the track more, and then I just tweak from there. So a tip that I'm going to give you is how to clean your tires. So cleaning tires, you know that there's like lots of track mud or track dirt, and what happens is when you're racing on a track, no matter what kind of track it is, no matter how clean the track is, it's always going to have like some sort of dust on it. And so the dust accumulates on the back of your wheels like so. And so what you need to do is to purchase a bunch of these sterile alcohol prep pads. And they come in a box like this. You can get them on Amazon, and it's like less than $5 for this entire box. And you take one of these pads, open it up, and you run your car, and you basically clean your wheels like that by basically placing this alcohol pad up against the tire. And basically the revolutions of the wheels then kind of rub off onto this alcohol pad. So you can do this with a few cars before you end up throwing away the pad, so it's good for like 3 or 4 cars. Be sure not to accidentally catch the pad into the insides of the wheel, otherwise this thing will just suck up the pad and yeah, it'll go nuts. Your car will be like kind of messed up. You'll have to remove the wheels to get rid of all of that cotton that's in here. Here's an example, very dusty looking wheels here. So let's turn this on. Yeah, sometimes you need a double pass. And as you see, it's like not perfect, but it's better than it was before. And when you're drying these, you want to dry them upside down. If the tires are still wet and you put it like this and you store it like this, then your wheels will kind of warp. So you want to flip it upside down like this and let it dry. And then when it finishes drying, then you can flip it upside down, or right side up that is, and then you can store it. So very, very cool. So yeah, this will take about, I would say, 10 minutes to fully dry. So yeah, you can continue on with another car that might have batteries. Let's see. Yeah, and it's a good idea. Like even if you're running these cars like on an indoor track, you might feel that, oh, I don't have any dust on my track and blah, 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 blah. No, there's always going to be some sort of dust somewhere, and it's going to accumulate on the tires. Especially if they are softer tires, they're going to accumulate more dirt that way. So you must clean your tires using alcohol prep pads. So yeah, that's just my tip of the month. So yes, if you like this video, please slam the like button, subscribe to my channel. You'll see more videos just like this one. Until next time, everybody, see you, bye.